Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
General Hospital spoilers report Ned Quartermaine suffered a heart attack last week, but there hasn't been any substantiation of that on screen in recent days as the plot around Rocco Falconeri, Danny Morgan, and Charlotte Cassadine takes shape involving their break-in to Professor Henry Hank Dalton's lab. As other events overshadow Ned's life or death health dread, suckers are left fussing that what lies ahead on the other side of this heart attack might have little to do with Ned's survival. Sure, he could pull through, but who he wakes up as is anyone's conjecture. Are we about to be on the entering end of another visit from Eddie Maine, and if so, what does that mean for Olivia Quartermaine and the rest of the Quartermaine family? Brooke Lynn is about to need her father. Brooke Lynn Quartermaine can't take the study of losing her father right now, but it's presumably nowhere on her mind that she could be careening toward losing her hubby. Yes, Harrison Chase has been over to no good probing Willow Tate's case and in trouble to prove she didn't shoot Drew Kane. His loyal commitment to Willow may find High's ex-wife cozying up to him again now that she's out of the slammer. However, it's doubtful that Brooke Lynn and Chase's marriage will survive, if that happens. She's going to need her pater in her corner to wipe down the gashes. Eddie didn't indeed flash back her. GH spoilers tease Olivia can't hack it when Ned took a spill a couple times back and fell into the Metro Court pool. He woke up as another man. But not just any man, Eddie Maine, his alter pride from times past that we allowed. We'd no way see again. Verity be told, the suckers didn't really love that plot. Eddie wasn't the same in his 60s as he was in his 30s. Also, it left a peering hole in the Quartermaine family. Brooke Lynn wasn't just some sprat who was hardly on screen. She was present and settled in her pater's life, and also he was just gone, poof. Olivia plotted to hold it together while she watched her hubby remain misplaced inside his own body and shadowing after other women, feeling nothing for her. She may not be willing to go through that again if Ned wakes up and he isn't there. Lois returns? Still, the juiciest bow of the Eddie Maine bow last time was that Lois Cerullo was back in city. The suckers were just dying for those two to get back together in some fashion, indeed if it didn't last. Eddie and Lois, together again? In our hearts, we knew it wouldn't work. First of all, Wally and Rena are real-life spouses. We just couldn't see the Penns asking them to get physical or dissemble any kind of relationship. Last time, it led to their veritably real marriage which turned out to be anything but. So, if Eddie Maine returns following Ned's near-death experience, will Lois come back too? It's doubtful. General Hospital spoilers reveal that a new Windmere riddle will begin. This house of horrors will bring some strange suggestions and erupting chaos, so let's talk about what's in store now that Lucas Jones is making Windmere his home. In an interview with SOD, Van Hansis talked about Lucas' perspective going into all this. Any enterprises Lucas might have had about living under the same roof as Jen Sidwell will snappily come a thing of the history due to Sidwell's charm. I love that he's fascinating, and I can see how Lucas's reservations about him are kind of cancelled because, you know, Ben's this fascinating British dude, offering him tea and crumpets and everything seems good. Hansis said. Thanks to Pascal and his speedy remittal trouble, Sidwell left no bloody Professor Henry Hank Dalton trail before. It's clear that when it comes to his crimes, Sidwell wants to keep covering his tracks and move Lucas. Everything is just peachy. Hansis verified that Lucas is in the dark on the depth of Sidwell's rearmost shady conditioning and indeed joked about Lucas allowing he was living in the Love Island manse. Since Lucas is crazy about Marco Rios and wants this living arrangement to work, he's ignoring naysayers like Carly Spencer. Lucas would much rather concentrate on his passions for Marco and the support he's getting from Ava Jerome rather. Still, GH spoilers suggest Lucas may not be suitable to bury his head in the beach for much longer. It turns out this move and decision will lead to some unsettling developments, so Hansis dropped a hint about what's brewing. Coming up, some weird stuff starts to be, Hansis admitted. It sounds like Lucas will get thrown into a new Windmere riddle as this place indeed becomes the house of horrors we mentioned. Lucas is a smart Joe when he wants to be and may soon realize he's been digging a dangerous hole for himself. However, he'll come a problem for Sidwell if Lucas sees or learns commodity he shouldn't. It's clear that anyhow of how Marco feels about Lucas, Sidwell is willing to wipe his son's love interest off the chart if need be. That's why when this weird stuff begins passing, it could lead Lucas straight into the peril zone. Lucas may explore out limits Windmere bodies and uncover effects he has no business knowing as far as Sidwell is concerned. General Hospital spoilers say some man's mayhem may be on the way and bring disquieting news for Lucas, so we'll bring you updates on all the drama. The Quartermaine mansion, a symbol of old money and enduring drama, is once again the stage for a life-altering event. The recent news that patriarch Ned Quartermaine suffered a severe heart attack has sent a ripple of fear through his extensive family. Yet, in a cruel reflection of how life moves on, the immediate on-screen focus has been hijacked by the high-stakes antics of Rocco Falconeri, Danny Morgan, and Charlotte Cassadine following their break-in at Professor Henry Hank Dalton's lab. This narrative overshadowing is a meta-drama in itself, leaving fans to fret not just about Ned's survival, but about the existential question of who will survive if he pulls through. The terror of a heart attack is twofold: the immediate threat to life, and the long-term uncertainty of recovery. For the Quartermaines, this uncertainty is tinged with a uniquely bizarre history. When Ned took a fall into the Metro Court pool a few years ago, he didn't just wake up with a concussion, he woke up as another person entirely. Eddie Maine, his swaggering, rock-and-roll alter ego from a bygone era, was resurrected, trapping the sensible, corporate Ned within his own mind. This storyline, while creatively bold, was a form of psychological torture for his loved ones. The man they knew was gone, replaced by a charming but alien specter who felt no connection to his wife, Olivia, or his responsibilities. Now, as Ned lies vulnerable once more, the specter of Eddie looms large. The brain is a fragile organ, and trauma can unlock strange doors. A cardiac event, with its potential for oxygen deprivation, could easily serve as the key that swings those doors open again. The fear is palpable. Will the Ned who opens his eyes know his daughter? Will he look at his wife with love, or with the detached curiosity of a stranger? Brooke Lynn's perfect storm. For Brooke Lynn Quartermaine, the potential loss of her father arrives at the most inopportune moment, as her own life is teetering on the brink of collapse. Her marriage to Harrison Chase, once a beacon of stability and mutual support, is showing catastrophic fissures. Chase's unwavering, almost obsessive commitment to proving Willow Tate's innocence in the shooting of Drew Kane is more than a professional pursuit, it is a personal crusade that is systematically dismantling his marriage. His steadfast commitment to Willow is a phrase that carries a devastating double meaning. For Chase, it represents his integrity and dedication to justice. For Brooke Lynn, it looks perilously like the rekindling of an old flame. With Willow now out on bail, the proximity and shared mission could easily lead to a reconnection that transcends the platonic. If Brooke Lynn perceives even a hint of renewed intimacy between her husband and his ex-wife, the foundation of their marriage will crumble. She is a woman who has fought hard for her happiness, and the thought of losing Chase, especially to Willow, would be a crippling blow. In this moment of profound personal crisis, the need for her father, her real father, Ned Quartermaine, would be overwhelming. He is her rock, her advisor, the one person whose love is unconditional. But what if the man in the hospital bed wakes up and doesn't recognize her? The return of Eddie Maine would be a second, cruel loss. Eddie didn't just forget his corporate duties, he forgot his daughter. For Brooke Lynn, the nightmare isn't just that her father might die, but that he might return as a man who is, for all emotional purposes, already gone. She is careening towards losing her husband, and now faces the terrifying possibility of losing her father a second time, trapped inside a persona who doesn't even remember her. Olivia's breaking point. Olivia Quartermaine bore the brunt of the last Eddie episode. Watching her husband, the love of her life, pursue other women and express zero affection for her was a special kind of hell. She endured the humiliation and the heartbreak, clinging to the hope that her Ned was still in there somewhere. It was a test of endurance that stretched her to her absolute limit. The question now is whether she has the capacity to survive that ordeal again. Olivia is resilient, but everyone has a breaking point. If Ned wakes up and once again looks at her with the blank eyes of a stranger, it may be a pain she simply cannot resign herself to a second time. The encouraging words from doctors about his physical survival would ring hollow if the man she married remains a prisoner within his own mind. Her love for Ned is boundless, but her ability to endure his emotional abandonment may have been exhausted the first time. The threat here is not an angry one, but a quiet, devastating one, the threat of surrender, of finally letting go of a fight she no longer has the strength to wage. The Lois factor, a juicy, yet unlikely, specter. The previous Eddie Maine arc was undoubtedly energized by the return of Lois Cerullo, Eddie's former flame and musical partner. For fans of the classic era, it was a delicious piece of nostalgia. The chemistry between the characters was legendary, and there was a palpable desire to see that spark reignited, if only for a moment. However, the real-world dynamics complicate any potential revival. Actors Wally Kurth and Rena Sofer, who play Ned/Eddie and Lois, are real-life exes. While both are consummate professionals, asking them to portray a passionate, romantic reunion is a significant request, and one the writers may be hesitant to make. Their previous on-screen reunion, which coincided with their real-life marriage, ultimately ended, adding another layer of complexity. While the narrative temptation to bring Lois back into a re-energized Eddie's orbit is strong, it remains a doubtful prospect. The juiciest element of the last storyline may be the one piece that doesn't fit into this new puzzle. Windmere's Gothic Peril, Lucas's Dangerous Paradise. While the Quartermaines grapple with their internal crisis, a classic Gothic horror story is unfolding across the river, within the stone walls of Windmere. Lucas Jones's decision to move into the Cassadine mansion to be with the man he loves, Marco Rios, is a decision he made with his heart, blindly ignoring the warnings about its sinister owner, Jen Sidwell. As actor Van Hansis elucidated in his interview with Soap Opera Digest, Lucas's initial concerns are quickly erased by Sidwell's calculated charm. Sidwell isn't a cartoonish villain, he is a sophisticated, charming British dude who disarms with offers of tea and congeniality. He has expertly curated a facade of normalcy, a performance so convincing that Hansis jokes Lucas feels he's living in the Love Island mansion. This deliberate normalcy is the most dangerous weapon in Sidwell's arsenal. Thanks to his henchman Pascal's efficient cleanup of the evidence linking Sidwell to the assault on Professor Henry Hank Dalton, the mansion presents a pristine, untroubled front. Lucas, deeply in love with Marco and eager for this new chapter to work, is a willing participant in this illusion. He dismisses naysayers like Carly Spencer, not out of stupidity, but out of a profound desire for happiness. He is choosing to believe in the paradise presented to him, a paradise where his boyfriend's father is charming and supportive, and where his relationship can flourish in a fairy tale castle. The unraveling, weird stuff and the emergence of a house of horrors. This idyllic facade, however, is destined to crack. Hansis's hint that some weird stuff starts to happen is the classic setup for every Gothic thriller ever written. Windmere is a mansion with a dark history, full of secret passages, hidden rooms, and ghosts of crimes past. It is a place that refuses to stay sanitized. This weird stuff could manifest in countless ways: strange noises in the night, objects moving on their own, a locked door found mysteriously ajar, or perhaps Lucas stumbling upon a possession of Hank Dalton's that Pascal missed in his cleanup. However it begins, it will serve as the first thread that, when pulled, will unravel Sidwell's entire carefully constructed tapestry. Lucas is not a foolish man, he is simply a man in love, choosing to ignore his instincts. But when faced with undeniable, bizarre evidence, his intelligence will override his desire for denial. His natural curiosity as a journalist will kick in. He will begin to explore the off-limits wings of Windmere, turning into an investigator in the lion's den. This is where he transitions from guest to threat. The imminent threat. The gravest danger Lucas faces is the moment he learns something he shouldn't. Jen Sidwell is a man who has proven he will go to any lengths to protect his secrets and his power. His affection for his son, Marco, is genuine, but it has limits. If Lucas becomes a liability, if he sees, hears, or deduces something that connects Sidwell to the attack on Dalton or other nefarious activities, Sidwell will not hesitate to wipe his son's love interest off the map. The angry threats in this storyline are not shouted, they are cold, calculated, and lethal. The mansion mayhem promised is not just about spooky occurrences, it is about the eruption of violent, real-world danger. Lucas's happy new beginning is poised to become a fight for his very survival, trapped in a house of horrors with a host who would rather see him dead than exposed. Converging fates, a city on the edge. The dramas of the Quartermaines and the inhabitants of Windermere may seem separate, but they are united by common themes of identity, love, and survival. In the hospital, a family awaits a man who may no longer exist, his identity erased by trauma. At Windermere, Lucas Jones is in danger of having his very identity, his life, erased by a man who sees him as a threat. Both stories are about the fragile nature of the self. The encouraging words are the lifelines thrown to those in despair, the doctor's prognosis for Ned, Ava Jerome's support for Lucas, the love Brooke Lynn and Olivia share for the man they hope to get back. But these words are constantly undercut by the angry threats, the threat of a fractured psyche, the threat of a crumbling marriage, the threat of a charming man in a castle who is a cold-blooded killer. Port Charles is a city perpetually in a state of baptism, a violent, cleansing, and transformative immersion into chaos. As Ned Quartermaine fights for his life and his soul, and as Lucas Jones naively wanders deeper into a labyrinth of danger, the city holds its breath. The storms are gathering, and when they break, no one will be left untouched. The baptism is beginning, and the waters are rising.